Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. It is the 8th of June, Monday, FOMC week. And also rollover. As such, things might be a little slow today. But let's go and see what happened over the weekend, shall we? Talk about Friday. So, of course, the big thing was that we had the unemployment numbers, and the unemployment numbers ended up being way better than anybody would have ever expected. Where's the chart that we want here? Got a couple of little things screwed up in my workspace today for some reason. I think I closed my workspace down wrong last time. There we go. Okay. So we had this huge move up based on the unemployment numbers. Now, there's a lot of talk about these unemployment numbers because there was a misclassification error in there, and this happened last report as well. And it's mentioned in the report that, probably without the classification report, that the unemployment rate would be 3% higher. This doesn't matter. Everybody that's looking at this understands this. The thing that the market cares about is that people started hiring before the lockdowns ended. Let me say that again. People started hiring before the lockdowns ended. So all of this stimulus and so on and so forth that we believed was needed in order to get people hiring again and start the economic recovery essentially is already happening. Okay, that's why the market's so happy. Probably more economic stimulus is not needed, but, well, who knows what they're going to do. So that's basically where we're at. So you might see some retail traders today talking like, this can't hold. We're going to have to move back down. And the reality is that there's no real reason for a major player to make big moves today. So here we may actually move a little bit higher, but I am really reluctant to go with anything, especially if it's a short. So in the Treasuries, here again, we had a pretty good extension down there, but now, we're building volume in this 03 area. So they're saying that's too far. They're rejecting that lower level. What do we see in the spreads? Well, they started to steepen a little bit, but then it's come back. I don't know. So we're going to be watching the curve really carefully, and especially look at this already. Look at this already, the 30-year, right? So this 30 and 5-year spread, there's a lot of action in the 30-year. There's not so much action in the 5-year, but we're going to watch this. Because there's talk about the yield curve. So let's make sure that I got my workspace all set up here. Man, I just feel like I'm suffocating. Oh, this goes over here. That's where that went. Cool. Oh, yes, this one too, Bitcoin. Bitcoin's still just kind of sideways to slightly up. U.S. Sovereign White House advisor Hasser expects to get next coronavirus aid package done quickly in July. Yeah. I mean, I really don't know if any of that's going to happen. Let's turn on the auto text to speech. Talking makes me feel like I'm suffocating right now. I guess another thing I should mention is that this week is my heavy week in my weightlifting program. So on Saturday, I lifted 97%. I lifted it pretty easily, but I'm feeling it. Yesterday I was so tired. I took a nap, like 2 naps, and then I still went to bed early. So my nervous system is off. So that's also a really good reason for me to be extremely reluctant in taking any trades. Like, I'm not going to be trying to take fast in the thick of things trades because I'm not sure that my response time is fast. So let's try the reaction time test. Okay, 239 is not bad. Okay, so I've actually recovered pretty well because 230 is about average for me. I can get below 200 if I'm really on. And I bet you by Friday that's where I'll be at. So let's make sure we got TweetDeck open here. Are our traders saying anything interesting? Everybody's talking V-shaped recovery. The Financial Times here's how to begin growing the foods that you love to eat in a way that is both practical and aesthetically pleasing. Okay. Oh, look, Donald Trump's tweeting. Oh, man. Donald J. Trump posting a tweet about Mitt Romney.
Ewo Severin says is not a V shape anymore.
This is like more than a V, man. I don't know.
Ewo Severin says is rocket.
Oh, yes, that's right. It's a rocket. Donald J. Trump tweeting a picture of Mitt Romney protesting. Tremendous sincerity. What a guy. Hard to believe with this kind of political talent, his numbers would tank so badly in Utah. An interesting way of him taking it. I don't think he's winning himself any favors with anybody in Utah. I mean, here's the thing that bothers me about this with Mitt Romney is that the BLM, let's say leaders. Here's the thing: we can't really think of BLM as a monolith, right? It's not really a organized movement. There's no clear leader to the movement. I mean, who is it? Do you know anybody's name that they're like in leading Black Lives? Like, it doesn't exist, right? But the people that are talking out and are getting the media attention are pretty hardcore. Like, they're talking communism and stuff.
Ewo Severin says Putin.
Oh, you think it's Putin? Oh, man. I thought it was George Soros. No? Anyways. These guys, they're going to hate Mitt Romney just because he's Mormon. Because the LDS Church has some history with that, right?
Ewo Severin says could be.
Would be.
Ewo Severin says grin.
LDS Church has been criticized in the past because they wouldn't allow African Americans to hold the priesthood. Totally true. It's kind of an interesting thing in the church because when they go back and they look at the history of it, they can't explain where the policy came from. That makes sense. So it's like it really happened just because people were racist. Is the general historical conclusion from LDS scholars. So, but they changed it. But that still is going to make a lot of BLM people say, "Oh, that's a racist religion. You have to quit that racist religion." So I don't think that Mitt Romney is gaining himself any friends. But there's going to be a lot of people. I know there's a lot of people in Utah that just really resent Mitt Romney because he never gives the Republicans the support on things. I don't know. But I mean, then you got to get into like, I got to tell you what, we've talked about this before. When you're part of the crowd and you feel like I'm part of the movement and we're doing something important and we're changing history and all of that stuff, run away. It is a delusion. This is a delusion that people get when they are a part of a crowd. It's an ingrained thing. It's built into your evolution. It's built into your psyche from evolution to feel this way. And this is when crowds and groups make the dumbest decisions. This is how the left screwed it all up in the 70s. And they had this anti-war movement. They felt like they were changing history. And it blew up in their face because they were violent, and Americans voted for Richard Nixon. Like, think about it. How badly do you have to screw up to get Nixon reelected, right? So, what do when they're at this point? Well, they do dumb things. Dumb things like defund the police. Yes. In Minneapolis, they are disbanding the police. And they said, well, we don't think that we can like reband it. Like, you could take the police down and just hire an all new police force. No, they don't think that will work. So they're just getting rid of it, and they're gonna come up with some alternative organization. Like, they're saying, oh, we need to send mental health experts out when people are on drugs. Good luck with that. Here he is, Donald Trump picking up on it. Law and order, not defund and abolish the police. The radical left Democrats have gone crazy. It's going to hurt them. I guarantee you it's going to hurt them. Just the rebranding, defund, the branding, defund the police. This is not good branding. That's not good branding. People are immediately, even though I know there's an argument that like, well, it's not like we're getting rid of the police. We just think that the police should have less money and more money should be going to other things that would help them so that they wouldn't have to police so much. Bad branding. Bad branding. Okay, well, the Treasury's moving okay today. The E-mini moving up. FX macro. By invoking the idea of being law and order, Trump is tapping into a long history of presidents leaning on the idea of strict adherence to the rule of law to squelch civil disobedience, often by minority communities in the community. I think that FX macro is suggesting that that's racist, or that people will see it as racist. But like, how else are you supposed to respond when people are saying defund the police? The treasuries are moving okay, but it's rangy. And same with the E-mini. ECB's Laguard is supposed to testify today. No, we do have bill auctions today too. That matters. And a 3-note auction. Let's scroll back here on our traders on Twitter. Traders touting gains. I never understood it. When I go on a good run, I don't tell anyone. I shut my mouth and hope it lasts. The business is so hard that if you have a good week or a month or a year, save it and do good with it. Don't tout it. Yeah, right. Exactly. Gary Norton retweeting Robert Burgess. The pandemic's grip on U.S. Treasuries has loosened, allowing yields to take flight. The Fed's next move will show just how far they can soar. Right? So I see a potential risk here, and that is that so much of this rally has been premised on easy money. How much of it is the easy money, and how much of it is that the economy is really just doing better than we thought? Most of you guys have been saying that is just the easy money. But after that jobs report, we kind of have to question that theory, don't we? So, if the Federal Reserve comes in and allows interest rates to rise again, is that going to hurt the recovery? I think that you'll get a pullback. I think you will get a little pullback, but I do think that probably the economy is stronger than we're giving it credit for. AC turned on, but I'm not feel it. Biden lead rises to 14 points in new CNN.
Michael XC says highly doubtful interest rates will rise anytime soon.
Why not? I mean, they've risen quite a bit just in the last week. The Federal Reserve backed off of their purchases and the market came down. If Biden has narrowed his VP choice to Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren, which one helps him the most? Scott Adams. You know exactly what you're doing there. Shame on you. We all know it's going to be Kamala Harris. Okay, E-mini coming down a little bit. Treasuries taking a little bit of a leap. See, I'm a little cautious here because what I think is going to happen is I think a lot of retail traders are going to come out and say, the number was fake. The rise, the rally on Friday was unjustified, and they're going to come in and try and sell the market today, and the market is just not going to budge. So I'm concerned that I'm going to see a lot of, oh yeah, I should take it here, like there's some real momentum, and the correct response in that spot is to reverse. That's kind of what I'm looking for. But curiously enough, the treasuries are rising. Although I see it, especially in the 5-year, it coming back up, but not in the 30-year, which is again where we're seeing. I think that you're going to see the longer rates have a hard time staying up here. Turd, I'm old enough to remember when fake news and Democrats said it would be Armageddon when Georgia and Florida opened their economies back up, and then nothing happened. Well, so in Utah, we're seeing a lot of cases. I think that in some places you're going to see something where they closed down. They probably never needed to close down in the first place. And now that they're opening back up, they're not going to have a whole lot of problems. And it's going to be random as to when that they start having problems. And they might not even necessarily be problems, but just like an increase in cases. But probably not enough of an increase to justify closing the economy back down again. Shutdowns prevented 60 million coronavirus cases in the U.S., says a study. That's not enough. That's not enough. It should be millions. No, it should be billion. No, wait. No, there's 250 million people in the United States, right? So 60 million. I would want it to be more in the 90 to 120 million. I guess that's not terrible, but I say it's not enough. Maybe that is not giving me AC because I don't feel the cool air. I hear it, but I think that's
Michael XC says, how can these protests not result in new cases?
Right? Oh, it so most certainly will. Somebody's going to show us a picture of the yield curve.
Michael XC says even Floyd had it.
Treasury futures by maturity current in 3 months. I see. So is that suggesting that they think the United States is going to flatten the curve? What's my AC doing here, man? I don't get it. Well, it says that it is 69 degrees in here. Probably it is a heater because it was raining yesterday. So this was 3 months ago. So they're saying this curve is steeper. They're going to try and flatten it. They're going to try and sell the shorter dated maturities. Which is what I would expect. But why didn't, when we come over here to the volume profile, why didn't the yield curve change? Well, this changed overall, just not on that news that one day. But here on this one, the knob didn't change. 2s and 10s changed a big time. 10s and 5s, not that much. I bet you that 5s and 30s are changed quite well. We should just add that. Let's just add that. And this should be Z. FZB and 5-year versus T-bond is 4-1. 4-1. So it's similar. It's moved a little bit more. I don't know if that really told us anything. 10 years, E-mini is still kind of coming down, and the Treasuries are moving up to their highs. And again, I feel like that the correlations are being overly sensitive. The euro is coming up. I'm not getting the dollar index, but I'm told that the dollar index has come back. Discovery Trading Group replying to Gary Norton, the parallels to the late 90s are palpable. Like in Q4 of 2000, those who allowed themselves to get too cocky believing in their own hype will likely learn the hard way. The risk and reward are joined at the hip in both directions, yes. People that are making a lot of money right now are taking really substantial risks and might get slaughtered. Donald J. Trump. CNN polls are as fake as they're reporting. Same numbers and worse against crooked Hillary. The Dems would destroy America. I don't know if those numbers are fake, to be honest with you. I think that if you looked at the nationwide numbers, it's going to look really bad for Donald Trump because in places like New York and California, the things that are going on right now are going to really, really influence those individuals, but they're all going to vote for Biden, but they're not going to make a difference to the final vote. Right? Okay, so they did break a new high, but it was only 31 contracts so far. Goldman reprises worries about a tax hike by Democrats after stocks surge. Yes, good point. So the whole thing is if the markets, if Joe Biden becomes president, then Democrats could increase taxes on everybody, on corporations again, and that would hurt earnings. Would make markets go down for sure. The narrative for markets has been win-win. LLRAM says that narrative is so deeply embedded now that it takes a major shock to change it. Yes. Pro tip: the trend of polls in aggregate will be more useful than a single outright poll, says Ransquack. Well, the trend is definitely it's going towards Biden, right? I don't think that we're in a spot where the polling is really that reliable yet, though. And I'm just a little. Problem is your turnout model is likely to be wrong. But I'd be more interested in what's happening in, say, Pennsylvania. It looks like that Donald Trump is hurting in Pennsylvania even now, too. Still ahead by aggregate, but some polls starting to show him losing lead. Why do I feel so? Well, this has got to be like this feeling that like I'm suffocating. I don't think that it's the AC. I think it's just uh, central nervous system fatigue. So I may just sit on my hands all day. Even Floyd had it. I keep seeing. The thing was is that Floyd was high when he got arrested, but I keep seeing more and more ridiculous stuff about. Like he had coronavirus, and that one's confirmed too. I saw somebody say that he did porn, but I didn't. I don't trust that one. That was just like a Reddit comment, so I don't think that that's true. It is curious though. Like to me, some of these things matter because you're talking about law enforcement and what is appropriate law enforcement policy when you're dealing with people that are speedballing. So I think it matters, but I don't think that that's why most people are posting about it. You know what I mean? Legislatures are also elected to solve problems and identify dark clouds on the horizon before the storm hits. A deep failure when it comes to the novel coronavirus, says the Hill. Uh,
Sunday Driver says, is there a way to short Minneapolis?
yes, there is. Sunday Driver. You could go and short any municipal bonds that they have. But I'm going to bet that their bonds are already a disaster. I don't really know a whole lot about the bonds. I know that we could go and look at the websites, but now you know what? Let's do it. Why not? I don't think that I have an edge in this market. Just watching it right now. It's slow. It moved up. I'm not sure I understood why it moved up. The E-mini came back, but only just a teeny tiny little bit. This is a market that is exactly what I was expecting and is very unfavorable to me. Okay. Municipal bonds. Hey, did I spell that correctly? Browse, maybe? If I say browse. Browse municipal bonds. Let's try that one. I don't think that that's the. I know there's a website that's really good for it, but I can't remember what it was. Wait, I don't know how to spell Minneapolis. EA Polis. Uh huh. Okay, here we go. Coupon is they're asking 0. City of Minneapolis refunding revenue bonds. $2028, $2034, senior housing and healthcare facility revenue, airports, apartment commission, convention center. Oh man, that one's 2014. I think they were already past like the dates that would be okay. Funding revenue is probably what we want. So let's try 2028. See if it will show us a chart or something. Last 10 trades. Oh, yes. Okay. Look at that. So they were doing 3.159 back at the beginning of the year. And now in May, and really since the thing, when did the Floyd thing happen? George Floyd. On May 25th. So the real rise happened before that. That's really interesting. This is home and tell. I don't know. I don't know if those ones are. Nobody's even trading that one. It looks to me like they're just from that one that we saw trades on.
Michael XC says protests are not really about Floyd. It's like one black guy on TV being interviewed in the streets said, "It's 'cause we poor, Dubaftal without coronavirus it would have exploded like this."
I think that there would have been protests, but yeah, probably wouldn't have been as extreme. I think one of the things that should be really be put into consideration is that more people can afford to be on the streets right now than normal because those Democrat states haven't opened up. It's great. It's absolutely insane to me. It is just unbelievable that in some Democrat states, such as New York, there are businesses that are still forced to be closed by the state, despite all of these protests going on. It's just absolutely stunning to me. You would think that they would be concerned about the optics of that, and yet they're not. They don't care at all. Let's see if we can find a better website. Minneapolis bonds. The revenue bond program. Well, I tell you what, if you were a Black Lives Matter protester and you really thought that this whole defund the police thing was like an awesome idea and you wanted to make 5% on your money per year for it to just sit there, that is a good deal. You want to put your money where your mouth is. They got the opportunity. There it is. Where is it? You can get 5% yield, man. 5% yield. And look, they're pricing it cheap too. They're pricing it below um they're pricing it below par. I don't really you know what, I need to go and read my bond book a little bit more. We should look into this a bit more, but that looks like a really good deal,
Sunday
but then you
Driver
have to
says Corona
consider
Chan
that,
is
like,
going to spread like wildfire in these blue cities and states following this.
probably. Well, I think that there's still going to be a bit of random chance to it, right? Like, if you were in a city where there wasn't really any cases anyways, and none of those people really had it, and then it breaks out, it's not really. It takes some time for the transmissibility of it to increase. Donald J. Trump touting his 96% approval rating in the Republican Party. Thank you. Now, this is another
Sunday
thing
Driver
that's
says
interesting.
realistically, won't the Fed backstop the Minneapolis bonds? So, the yield might actually be a good buy. No?
Well, the chances of it defaulting are
Michael
pretty low
XC says
still,
the
yeah.
problem is not only are they not maintaining distance, they're yelling too. That's how it spreads in places like churches so easily.
But I don't think that your risk there is really that they default so much as it is that you're going to take it and the price is going to decline further. And that, when the yield is going to increase more. And then you could have gotten a better yield. Right? There's a thing with bonds, you got to remember that not everybody holds them all the way. But if you're willing to hold them all the way to 2028, then yeah, I guess you're right. That it probably is a good buy in that respect because the Fed might backstop it. Well, I don't know. I think the Fed can backstop it. I think it's more complicated than that, though, Michael. One of the things that I saw was that the Minneapolis mayor was asking for funds to rebuild their city. And that's like, are you kidding me? You really think that the other states are going to want to give you money? Especially when you just defunded the police? And there's no indication that you have any ability to keep that place
Michael
running.
XC says I saw a video of Manhattan, the entire street full of luxury stores, 5th Avenue 59th Street. He says, every store is boarded up, except Gucci. The guy filming said, oh, that's a Trump building.
The Gucci? Well, I think that they already got raided. Dunkin' Donuts plans to hire 25,000 workers. That's a lot. They planning a big expansion. The yield increasing before all of this must be telling us something that the thing is that on that particular bond there didn't appear to be very many like real significant activity in it. I need to pull my book out, and there's a website that they recommend, and we could find it, and we might be able to find better data, but I'm not at the moment. We're gonna have to do a little bit of research. Black Lives Matter co-founder Defunding the police means reorganize our priorities. They're a co-founder, huh? Probably not co-founder of the whole movement. Probably co-founder
Black
of
Lives
one
Matter.
section. Alicia Garza said defunding the police means reorganizing society's priorities. Invest in the resources that our community needs. They don't really get into it.
RJ Wheel says CNN and Ms. NBC keep downplaying looting.
It's so, I just can't understand what some of these people must be thinking. I'm trying really hard, but I mean, I guess you're kind of a little crazy. But come on, how do you not sit down? How can you say to news media we need to defund the police and not sit there and say, you know what I'm saying sounds kind of crazy. Maybe I should come up with a different way of saying it. You know what? Like, how can they defund the police? Like, your community just got turned into a pile of rubble, and your response is, "Oh, we need to defund the police." That makes no sense. It's so crazy.
Michael XC says the new code phrase is largely peaceful protesters.
Largely peaceful.
Sunday Driver says either I am missing something, or this new way of policing the population without police is a revolutionary idea I can't get my head around.
Well,
Michael XC says used by the news.
Yeah, so I think that they've been saying things like,
RJ Wheel says I love the AOC types that want to defund the police. Rich white enclaves will hire private security. Their neighborhoods will collapse into Wild West show.
You're totally right, RJ. That's
Uzi Knesset
exactly
says full-blown subverted demographic. Demoralized into oblivion. Everything right seems wrong, everything wrong seems right. Iwo Severin says study suggests bald men could be at higher risk for severe COVID-19
I think
symptoms.
I'm at high risk.
Iwo Severin says shit.
Because I have gastrointestinal issues, I think I'm at high risk. So, but that's okay, guys, because I have zero reason to leave my house. So that's what I'm going to continue to do, is just not go out.
Iwo Severin says me too.
Okay. Anyways, so I think that the plan, as I understand it, is that they think that less money should go to the police and more money should go to, for instance, human health services. And they think that if, somebody is out on the streets being crazy, that
RJ
you should
Wheel
send
says
a
the
mental
poor
health
neighborhoods.
person.
Insurance rates rise. Business and food deserts. No police. No civilization.
No civilization. The Target is saying that they're gonna rebuild the stores. So there's that.
Michael XC says the biggest thing is heart issues because of the non-stop clotting problems COVID causes.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't think that that's a problem for me. I'm pretty healthy, I think, like heart-wise. But I'm concerned about my immune system.
Sunday Driver says I am type O negative. So, I hear that I am low risk. Whatever.
Is it the type O, or is it the negative that makes you lower risk? That sounds like Asian blood type of like nonsense. Like, it probably doesn't really matter, but some guy in China did a study about it because they care about that stuff so much. And that's what that sounds like to me. I am surprised the bond's moving this much.
Michael XC says lol. Michael XC says for sure. Michael XC says for malaria.
Anyways, the whole idea behind defund the police is that they're
Sunday
saying...
Driver says type O is supposed to be lower risk. Negative also provides some immunity for different diseases.
Okay. Anyways, they want to send like a mental health advocate out there to deal with it rather than the police. I just don't think that these people realize what the police deal with. And here's the thing. Now that you've done that, when you come back and you say, "Oh, oops, actually we do need police." Who's gonna come and be a police officer in your city? Honestly, who is going to come in and say, "Okay, I'm willing to risk my entire livelihood on the safety of your city"? Nobody's dumb enough to do that, dude. Nobody's dumb enough to do that. Frankly, who are you going to get to go and be these mental health experts that are going to go out and respond to the cases? Like, come on. The whole thing is just
Uzi
crazy.
Knesset says Simon Phoenix gonna show up to Minneapolis and take over the entire city of social workers. Lol.
It's just, I'm telling you, this is the trap that progressives, I'm going to call them progressives, people that are in favor of change, okay? This is the mistake that they make, is they say, "Oh, we have an idea and we want to do it," and then they just push into it, all full sails ahead. What is the phrase? They're on all cylinders, like, let's just completely change this. Hey, here's a radical idea. We don't need police. Let's just get rid of them. We'll do a vote. No thought, no study, no real plan to replace it. We're going to get rid of the police. It's absolutely zany. This is why it's bad to let any one party be in like complete control, particularly the Democrats. If you put the Republicans in complete control, like they were in George Bush, they will implement things that are bad. Like I think that there were things in the Patriot Act that really did infringe upon our liberties, but ultimately they don't like to change things that much, and so it's not that bad. But when you give the Democrats full and complete control, they will change every little teeny tiny thing that they possibly can. And a lot of the things that they're going to change or implement are things that aren't thought through all the way. And in some cases, it takes a long time for us to realize the problems with them. Like, for instance, Social Security, great idea, but when your population doesn't increase forever, then
RJ
you can have
Wheel
problems.
says instead of addressing police, address the reason minority neighborhoods are crime-ridden. Fix healthcare, equal pay, etc., and crime will fall and cops will relax their trigger fingers. Uzi Knesset says that's what happens when you govern via the whims of Twitter.
Yeah, so something that I saw that was really funny today was that they were saying that Jack Dorsey, these were trolls were saying these weren't legitimate Black Lives Matters people, but they were saying Jack Dorsey should step down so that a black man can have the job. Because they did that in Reddit. The co-founder decided to step down so that a black man could have the job. I suppose that there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but I don't think that somebody should be willing to give their position up, especially if they were doing a good job at it.
Treasury_trader says I heard it doesn't take much to become an officer. Is this correct?
Well, it
1
depends
week of
on
training.
depends
In
on
Germany,
where
it's 3 years.
where it is.
Sunday Driver says police are made to do social work. Not great. That isn't what causes police shootings. Police are called in to handle violent people. Calling in a psychiatrist to handle a violent person is nuts.
That's the whole problem, is like, if you want to give the police more training, then you're going to have to pay them more. You're going to have to make them worth more. And then you're going to need more money to pay for it. And they don't want to pay more money for their police. Do you see the issue? You want to have really effective, really smart police officers, but you don't want to pay for them.
Says I saw a black lawyer say that white people that are sharing bread making tips without posting something about the protest is racist.
Man, you know what? Some people, I don't see it here in Utah, but I have seen some posts from outside of Utah where it's literally like, if you haven't come out into the street and kneeled, then you're racist, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I tell you what, they couldn't have picked a more stupid way to show your support than kneeling. There's so many people that are just not going to kneel just because of the connotation that it has, I'm prone, if there was come in and they said, to show your support for Donald Trump, kneel. There's no way in hell I would do that. I would rather die. I would rather die, and I'm been a fairly strong supporter of the president. I would rather die than kneel for over something like that. So for something political. No way. And they're saying you got to kneel or you're racist. This is ridiculous.
Uzi Knesset says wokeism is new religion for white leftists.
Yeah.
They spent decades removing God and religion from their worldview and have now come full circle.
Mm-hmm. So this is something that's kind of interesting. This will take a little bit to explain, but you kind of have to understand the leftist philosophy on this sort of a thing. And really, I guess when I'm saying leftist, I really mean the communist philosophy on this, because this is where it really comes from. And the communists thought that religion was like opium for the masses. They thought that religion wasn't really needed, and that the only reason that it existed was because people were being exploited by the capitalist system. And so if they fixed capitalism, there would be no need for religion, and they thought that the whole thing was silly. But what we found in the Soviet Union, for instance, was that without religion, there was negative social connotations from that. And that's why in the aftermath of that, Putin, for instance, very much strongly supports the what is it, the Greek Orthodox Church or whatever it is that they got over there. Do you really think? I mean, like, there's been so many events where he's like, there's praying. Like, there was this one video I remember seeing where the little boy was peeking and Putin got mad at the kid, right? Do you really think that Putin is a devout, God-fearing man? No, it was in the KGB, man. Like, come on. It's 100% for manipulation. And what did he realize? He realized that religion served a purpose, like that people need that spiritual sense of community in their lives, and that if they don't get it from a productive religion, that they will turn to more destructive ways to get it. And that's the case. We've talked about this before. I think that you kind of got to sit back and say, like, what is the, like, this is a thing that people need in their lives. So even if you didn't believe in, and I'm not like that. I do believe in God, but if you're a person that didn't believe in God, you have to sit down and say, well, what's the most effective and productive way for society for me to get that? And I tell you that only conclusion that I can make is that it is not the church of wokeism. You know, it's kind of funny.
Michael XC says they are not communists, they are fascists. They tell you what you are allowed to or not allowed to say or think.
Well, that gets into a whole.
Uzi Knesset says white women are extraordinarily susceptible to wokeism. All jokes aside, it's actually really fascinating.
I agree. Unmarried white women, because married white women with kids don't seem to take it the same way.
Michael XC says, wait, who has to kneel to prove they are not racists?
Yeah, well, they were mostly asking police.
Uzi Knesset says now in order to be nit racist, they most kowtow to minorities and worship them.
I don't think that's the way that they see it. Sunday Driver
says we have a younger generation that is clueless about what communism is all about.
Yeah, we do. We really do.
RJ Wheel says that in Nigerian catfish.
What? That was a leap. It is interesting. Well, I think that women are more susceptible, or I don't want to say the word susceptible, but they tend to care more about they tend to be more empathetic, and they're more sensitive to what they view as injustices against individuals or the needs of other people. So much so over their own needs. True. This is why you kind of need a balance, because men will, men are like, well, here's me and mine. And also men are more likely to sit down and say, well, if you have
Sunday
problems in your
Driver
life,
says the 19th Amendment should be repealed.
It's your fault.
The country has fallen apart since their priorities have been calculated into the voting process.
Wait. We're talking about No. I was a little vague on what I had to. It's like, which one is it? And now I look at it, I was like, no, I don't agree. I don't agree. Um, here's the thing. I think that when you look at democracy, man, I don't want to have to shoot you down like this is Sunday, but I'm just going to give you my own opinion because the opinion that you just shared is considered pretty toxic. Like we don't want people to come. That's the sort of thing that people are going to be like, oh, Seth's audience are women haters, but they're not. Okay, but let's just talk about this for a second. The reason that democracies work is because they align the incentives of the most powerful with the incentives of everybody else. If you, for instance, have an economy that is based almost entirely on selling oil, then the only thing that really matters to the wealth of your country is how well oil is doing. And the needs of everybody else don't really matter. This is a problem, and that is why you tend to get dictatorships in countries that are relying on one resource. But in a democracy, in order for anybody to have power, you have to derive your power from the people. And so that person has an incentive to, give the people the things that they want. The people basically become the base of the power structure. Now, that can be a problem because then the politician can turn around and they can say, well, I have a really good hold on this particular percentage of this particular group of people, and I can promise them things, and then they will always vote for me because I'm giving them the things. And then we run into this issue where you have you're pitting one group against the other, and these are the problems that you have in democracies. Okay, so if we have a certain group of the population that cannot vote, then they're not able to become a part of the power structure, and that's a real problem. So when you have women and their interests are completely ignored, that's not something that is good for society. Okay, but here's the problem with women in voting as it is in our society today, and that is that the women have voted, but it hasn't been until recently that women have actually exerted power as a voting demographic. That is new. And what you're seeing right now is that both society and the leaders themselves don't know how to deal with it because it's never happened before. It's never happened before. And so they don't know how to sit back and say things like, well, maybe saying X, Y, and Z is really dumb. It's a similar thing with the Black Lives Matters movement. They're pushing communism and things like that, which they're true radicals, and they've put radicals in charge. But how have radicals been able to get in charge of the movement? Because the people involved have never dealt with politics before. They don't know what they're doing, and they don't realize that putting an extreme radical that believes in communism is the front person for our movement is like a dumb idea. They don't get it. They don't realize that yet. So my recommendation is that if you are in a position, I wish I was, but I'm not. If I went to a Black Lives Matter protest, I don't think that I would be welcome there. Unfortunately, even though I do want racial equality, I don't think that it's as big of an issue as they claim, and I think that they have a lot of things that are just outright faults. But you know what? They could help themselves in their communities a lot with changing a couple of the way that they could do things, but they would never listen to me. But you know what? You might know women, and you can give them advice. I think one of the things that you have to kind of think about is what are the things that I'm prone to, and if you're a woman, you do kind of have to think about, are there cases where my empathy causes me to overlook what is actually best for everybody. So I don't know. I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is. Let's go back to this.
Uzi Knesset says, I think empathy is a bit different from safetyism.
Yep.
Our generation wants a world with no danger and a world without tragedy.
That's exactly it, Uzi. It's the world of moral hazard. They want to eliminate all risk. You've basically what has happened is we've had seen the rise of political groups in the United States that are adverse to taking risks, and so they are trying to change the system to eliminate risks, and they don't realize yet that you can't eliminate the risks. And we can see the consequences of it, that when you eliminate risks, you create reverse incentives that actually create more risk than the thing that you were trying to prevent.
Michael XC says my understanding of the U.S. political system is that the politicians do whatever corporations want unless it's a third rail issue.
Well,
Sunday Driver says once you have people who vote for more and more and more benefits without consideration of cost, the treasury is depleted and management systems fall down. Everything is a high priority, and it fails.
Seeing a pretty good sell-off in the E-mini here, by the way. And this was, again, what did I say? Will be fairly range-bound. There will be people that will try and sell it, but I don't necessarily want to go along with it. Maybe we'll get an opportunity here. Let's keep an eye out. What was I going to say? So the thing is that politicians do very much listen to what corporations want, because this is a feature. Like I said, the policy decisions have to be in line with the power structure, and that means that the thing that makes the country money kind of has to be, kind of has to take some priority. If we were to come in and do something really dumb, okay, so for instance, one of the things that really gives the United States a lot of power and wealth is our financial system. And if we came in and we implemented a tax, a financial transaction tax, a financial transaction tax, then a lot of that business would leave the United States and would be devastating to our economy. So guess what? There's almost zero chance of it ever happening, even though a lot of politicians are dumb enough to mention it, right? Why? Because it would destroy the country's revenue. So do you want to have a system where it completely ignores the things that generate revenue in the country? No, you don't. So that's why it's a feature. But I guess there has to be checks and balances and everything, right? And there are situations where you have to sit down and say, okay, is this too harmful? And the company has to change the way that they're doing things, and Congress has to change the way that they're doing things, and that's why congressmen have to balance the interests of the people against the interests of the corporations, and sometimes one wins and sometimes the other wins. And I think that there's this thing where people want power over the corporations, and they don't necessarily are trying to enact something that would really actually be beneficial to them. Then yeah, they're going to listen to the corporation and not the people. Yeah, did that make sense? Big selling before the open, says Kevin. Yes. And then there's this other thing that has happened in our society that really since the 80s has been broken, and that is that the check on the corporations was that corporations are publicly owned, and so anybody can go out and own a portion of that company and vote at the shareholder meetings to change a policy of the company. But then what happened in the 80s was we said, oh, you people are not smart enough to buy your own stocks. You should buy a mutual fund, and we will manage it for you. So people started buying mutual funds, and that became the popular thing in the 80s. Well, then they realized that the mutual fund wasn't really much smarter at managing your money than the index. So then people started saying, oh, well, you should just get into the index funds. So you have these people that are running index funds, and they are basically the ones in charge at the shareholder meetings, and it breaks the system. So this is why I always hate it when people say, yeah, you should just buy index funds. If it really truly is the case that you should always just buy the index fund, and I don't think that that's the case. I think that you're going to see periods where it works really well, and you're going to see periods where it doesn't work very well. If we are correct in our larger reading of the economic environment, we're going to be in an environment where growth will be very low for an extended period of time after this initial recovery, and ergo, having an index is not the way to go. You're going to want to be in individual stocks because the index overall might actually be down, whereas your individual stocks will be up big time. So we may be entering into an area like that, but I think that we should be doing everything we can to encourage people to own individual shares rather than going into the index funds so that they actually own the companies and force companies to act responsibly. We've broken the system there. I'll add this back onto auto read here. That is my big thing. I want people to buy individual companies. I'm happy that so many people are buying into Robinhood and that they spent some of their stimulus money on stocks. On that one, I'm just concerned that the way that they're going about it is basically saying, oh, there's no risk anymore to anything, so we can just do what we want. That's a recipe for disaster. Okay, it looks like they can move up. That's interesting, the way that they sold there at the open, before the open, and now how easily they're just recovering it. Morgan Stanley's stylized scenarios ahead of the 2020 presidential election, given the current activist climate, turnout, demographics used to
Gary
consider
Rich says
alongside
macro
headline
call,
polls.
no Fed hikes till deck 22, DXY breaks 94, 94 to 90 indexes get silly, gold pass, bonds need to wait and see.
You think the DXY will break 94 to 90 and the indexes will get silly. But you don't know about bonds, you have to wait and see. Well, I think I can see what you're saying on the dollar. I can't see the dollar, unfortunately, today. It's not up and running yet. I need to maybe make a change in my script so that when the data is missing, it will still display. And you're right on the treasuries. We don't really, it's kind of hard to know what the treasuries are going to be doing from here because of the FOMC meeting on Wednesday. I'm kind of wondering if the Federal Reserve comes in and says, well, yeah, we're not directly supporting the market anymore because it doesn't seem to need it, but we're not going to increase rates. And if that pushes them back up into the range that they were in. Because if we're just run into a sell trend and the CTAs continue to take it on momentum, that's going to be a real problem for the rest of the market. Who will issue the first ETF that replicates Robinhood traders? Says the market here. Gosh. What about oil? You do the oil, right, Gary? What about oil? Where are we in oil today, by the way? 38. As I remember us talking about 30 being possibly a new low in oil, and like that's unlikely. Does that change our mind on things? Is it now like, is it okay to invest in some oil companies? Okay, so they're pushing 3207, but kind of running
Sunday
into a
Driver
little
says
bit
what's
of
the best way to short the USA? Buy foreign currency, buy gold, foreign real estate.
it's probably buying the euro, right? That seems to be the largest driver of the US currency is the euro dollar. So you would go long the euro versus the dollar. So they come up to this area and it's being slow. It's not that much volume yet. It's about 5,000. per price level. Well, per point. I have them. I do it by handles on my footprint chart, but it's not, the volume's not there yet. Bitfinex is back. But he's not saying anything. He's just retweeting other people. Civil cases against Bitfinex and Tether are not baseless, and they're not going away just because the. Okay, so there's some. Futures Trader 71 says no. U.S. equity futures rollover begins on Thursday at the open. We begin switching to September contract on that day and reloading all historical data. So I'm not seeing a ton of volume here, but we do have to consider that, hey, maybe you would be seeing it if you were looking at the September contract. But I'm thinking if I do take something, it's going to be in the Treasury. But the question is, can you short the Treasury? Not so sure. It's very much against the trends. Okay. Seeing some activity on the offer. Market seemed to respond to that pretty quickly. 3205 3/4. That was the big order. That was right where they were trading at. Well, I don't know about that one. Look at the 10-year. So it's puffing up. It's up at new highs. They're not really getting people to buy into it yet. Okay, there's 500. So this is, like I said, you get the curious stuff, and it kind of makes it look like, oh, the E-mini is just about to plummet, and the treasuries are about to take off. Oh, so the Morgan Stanley has things out by divided. What would be the animating policy issues and the electorate indicators in terms of like who owns what? Not sure if I agree with all of their assumptions, but whatever. We'll look at that later. Okay, so there's 09. Okay. Okay. Ugh, I don't know how I feel about that spot, but hmm. Okay, so OA half is moving back and forth fairly okay now at the moment. But not holding an offer. The E-mini's still kind of chilling at this 3207 area. Moransko access for the masochists. There's the link to watch Wired live. Oh, come on. She's not that bad. She's not that bad, guys. Oh nine takes 841 there. No, thank you. They're gonna squeeze it. Yeah, cool. Well, it wasn't a bad one. Maybe I was kinda trying to scratch it, right? But it didn't. There's still not enough real activity in the treasury that sometimes you get kinda stuck. Probably we will get a lot of hedgers selling it up in here. So I'm not quite sure what's holding it as high as it is, but there's a good chance that, if we get an iceberg and we go through 09 half, that we'll continue to see icebergs selling. Although I'll tell you what, the indexes are awfully choppy. Oh nine half, clear. Hmm. Well, I can see 11 half on here, but then after that, you're in an area like I don't know. Okay, so they took 10 really easily. Hmm. Okay, so that's the first time I've actually seen somebody try to sell it. Nope. They look a little nervous. Hmm. Okay. So that was a good little run there into E-mini. Let's see if they can build off of that. It's curious how much the treasuries have trended up here. Especially since I see a lot of reason for them to be selling it up in here. Again, it shows that this president is incapable of showing any type of empathy. He always gets it wrong time and time again, and I think we got to stop expecting any more from him. And Lantamir Keisha Lance Bottom says, well, I think she's right. It's not that he's incapable of showing empathy. It's that he is not very good at controlling which sort of things he feels empathy for and which sort of things that he doesn't. And he doesn't feel that how he shows empathy publicly is an important thing. And in reality, it really isn't. I mean, we don't need his empathy. I understand why people say he should do it because it's like it's good politics. But in the end, is it really the public's interest? I don't think it really matters. But does it help him get elected? No, it certainly doesn't. It certainly helps. It certainly hurts him when he doesn't respond to incidents like this the way that people want. Okay, LaGuard's speech is out. Even he's still kind of chopping around and having difficulty getting past that 203207 area. And I get stopped out again. Hmm. Well, I don't see it. I don't know about this, man. They get to push up through here, though. We'll put an order in just so that they stop. I don't know, man. Hmm. This must be based on the currencies. I think that they want to sell it, but the currency correlation is pushing it up. I can't really see. Well, I mean, I see that the 6J is moving up, but I guess the euro is moving too. Can't really get a good picture of. Uh, can't really get a good picture of the dollar here. Dollar must be taking a hit though. And it ticks up in 2,000 trades, and it's easy for it to tick up. Hmm. It's easy for it to go through all of these prices, actually. I think one of the problems I'm having in the 10 years is that overall it's just incredibly difficult to get a good spot, like to play the queue and stuff. So there's the E-mini at the low, at the open. Hmm. Not necessarily the best fill there. Hmm. So the 5 years kind of pushing there, but the other two are not reluctant to follow along. We are getting a little bit more back and forth now. Like some hit 11 there. It looks like they might hit 10 half. Okay. So E-mini took a dive there. Hmm. That's not normal for after a new low. Bunch of people buying it down in there. Hmm. So how is that buy look in the 10-year? It doesn't look like anything unusual in the level 2 yet. It does seem easy for them to slam it around. The E-mini is still holding this area below the low. Okay. How much is built up there now? A few thousand is still not significant. They're at 18 up at 18,000 up at 3205. Hmm. So that 11 being a little finicky on both sides. So our position is not very efficient. Okay. E-mini made another little break there. Okay. Now trading the open price again. It's fighting them there. Okay, now they're above the open. Let me check a couple of other things over here. Well, that still puts them all blue on all time frames. The internals look okay in the E-mini too. Okay, so now they've got this 3201 spot to deal with. Okay, they broke it. There's a little bit of orders moving around when that happens. It looks like that 6J is still, the currency is still kind of pushing it up. I think like I still believe in the trade. I haven't seen anything to tell me that like I'm for sure wrong. It just doesn't look like I really have enough room to work with to really get the thing that I'm looking for, you know? It's pretty tight. I'm not getting good spots. Like, word, this crisis can be an opportunity to modernize our economies and make them fit for the future. A transition towards a greener economy is a crucial part of this. She just loves to hit all of the feel good notes. Okay, we're getting a little bit, another push. Kind of clicking around, but not 3201. Oh, they're actually putting big bids there at 3201 and he got filled. Okay. White House considering Trump's speech on policing and George Floyd protests, as report. I mean, he kind of already talked about it many times. It better be a really good speech. Okay, so they just pushed down there again. Well, looks likely to break again. Oh, but not another. No stop run. What? So it seems to me that there's a lot of people going short here in the E-mini. Yeah, let's reset this again so we can see it. Like right now, it seems to me like somebody is trying really hard to make this go down and they're not having much success at all. They go down there and they hit it and then there's no stops. There's nothing to continue pushing it. Well, this still doesn't explain why we're trending up so strongly in the Treasury. Other than, I guess, pullback. And pushing highs, huh? Nah, I've gotten this wrong every step. It's okay. I guess kind of what I was saying before that like I'm doing this on sim, but if this was, I certainly wouldn't be taking anything today. Not in treasuries, at least. What am I doing? See, it's still the same thing. Like they're pushing down there, but it's not going. Why are the treasuries up as strongly as they are, though? Like, not only did they just hit the 13, but now they're hitting into the 13 half. So they are looking to retrace a good portion of this big move from before. That's a lot for the treasuries to move up just off of equity um, concern, you know? Wonder what's moving them up. U.S. bankruptcies soar 48% in May, the most since the financial crisis. So they're probably going to make it over this open another time. We'll see if this time if the equities really actually take off or not. Okay, so seeing an iceberg at 30 3/4 5 year. It ticks up. I still see the 6J. Okay, there was a little sweep there. Yep, there's above the open again, as predicted. But can they build a base and move up from here? Still fighting. White House advisor Navarro, U.S. better prepared if second virus wave comes. Okay. Okay. They're the E-mini is just being really interesting right now, isn't it? I mean, so far, mostly negative, but like the downside has not been anything to really get excited about. Okay. Well, they just pushed a couple of solid points down there. The treasuries are selling at 13.5 now. Well, the 5-year ticked down. Or 30 and 3/4 was where there was some iceberging from before. So for them to hold the 900 and the 30 half to pull there in the 5-year is good. How you guys doing over here? We're doing good.
Luis Alarid says nice spike up on the bonds.
So they had an okay tick down, and then look how easily they come back through the 13.5 again. I mean, there was almost 2,000 contracts there to absorb it, but it ticks up. So, it's just all at once. Whereas on the down, it took a long time and they were waiting, and then finally they went and they had to wait for the bid to weaken and all this sort of stuff. And now over in the E-mini, well, they're kind of getting this like, I'm actually seeing some, how do I put this? So what I'm seeing in the E-mini is pushing behavior. Like they're trying to push it down. But you can see every time that they push it, are you getting stops? No, they're actually absorbing into it. and it doesn't go very far. But I'm clearly off trend in treasuries. Just even when I tried the long, it didn't work out. Now I see that's so frustrating.
Luis Alarid says VXX. Luis
6J
Alarid says
really
SP
went
King
that
up
time.
VXX.
The 6J really went that time. So the issue in a situation like this is, how do I know when the 6J is done or is going to continue? I'm not sure I can. So maybe, I mean, we're playing around, so let's keep running with it, but probably the answer here is that we just can't understand what's happening in the treasuries at the moment. Hmm. Watch it go back up the other way now. Yeah, almost immediately it flips on me. Hmm. Like the treasuries just look like they want to just trend and trend and trend. That 6J doesn't seem to be changing. Where's all this money coming from? Or why? I think one of the issues that I'm having is that when I'm watching the order flow here, and it seems to be reacting a little bit to the E-mini, but that's clearly not what's driving it, right? I should, oh, do I? Oh, I don't. Thought I had made another account for throwaway trades, but Hmm. Nope, that was a pretty aggressive sell there at 15. Just that despite the E-mini looking like wants to hit lows. There's a lot in the 5-year up here. Okay, there's the E-mini pushing the low again. Okay. They do take 31 and a quarter, but they don't hold it. So you kind of get the 30-year is kind of leading the up, which I guess is what you should expect. Okay, now the E-mini is getting a little bit more into a downtrend stride. Still seeing a lot of absorption against it, but they could fall plenty. I mean, it really wouldn't be all that exciting of a drop until 85 in the indexes, man. Well, that a little drop there was maybe a little too fast, and the 5-year didn't do it. But it does look like the 6 day finally pulled back a bit. Mhm. Hmm. So after that uptick, they're selling into the 14.5, but it's building still. $900 in the end. Some clicky action over here. On the bid. Did they just get more bullish that that's the end of the downside in the E-mini? Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Right back to the open again. How many times have I said that today? Normally when you get on one side of the open or the other, they tend to try and, take it. But today they've batted back and forth across it so many times. Man, what does it take to get a favorable tick? I don't think that any of these have been favorable. No, none of them. None of these practice trades have had favorable ticks at all. And it looks like the bottom is going to fall out, but then nothing's really actually happening.
Trader Josh says this markets is being weird.
Hmm. Yeah, well, when I started out, I kind of said probably some consolidation. We don't have a whole lot of edge. So I've taken a lot of trades, and I think we're getting into this thing where it's like, mm, I want to kind of test some things and see what happens, but then the reality is I shouldn't be trading it. And if I take a sim trade, am I setting up a bad habit by doing it? You know what I mean? Because none of those have been favorable. It's really really quite going with me. And I think part of it was that I took a couple of those where I was like, oh, okay, now there's some momentum up and we can take it here. And that's exactly where it's turning. So there seems to be, despite the strong trend up in the treasury, it's still being very much mean reverting, which is that when you do get a strong move up, it doesn't just immediately continue through. So it's like a trend, but it's not. And the E-mini is doing a similar thing. Like they go down to the lows And you think that they're going through, and then it only goes through for a few points, and then it reverses.
Trader Josh says, do you use OCO order?
No. I've never had to really deal with that. Just because, like, when I get out, if I get out, it just cancels everything anyways. So the thing is that buy was probably the most promising one we've seen so far. And yet everything is still kind of like sitting, right? That one I think is like everybody got into something and they're waiting for something to happen and they're all in it. So there's nothing to move it further unless some other catalyst comes around from outside, which is probably what's going to happen. 14 is now putting 22 on it. It's a very much consolidated here at 3202. Which kind of makes me wonder, are they gonna turn back down again and go across the open again? Very possible. Okay, now they're showing a 3,000 at 14. Stop that one because seeing some volume and turns here and stuff that we shouldn't be seeing. Thing is if they sell this in the treasuries, it could come back really far. You wouldn't be surprised to see them come back to 05. And the equities sure look bullish. I don't know. I feel like I'm being random, but I'm not because it's not giving me even a tick. Hmm. Hmm. Sorry for being so quiet today. I was just not sure what to say. I think I need more training on the jigsaw methods. I can see when it moves, but I get caught on the wrong side so many times. I guess it takes time. Yeah, well, but this is like I was saying, Dan. There are some situations where the order flow is just not going to be very useful to you. It's not. You gotta remember that what you're looking at is the orders that have already happened. It's still market based information. It's just telling you something that happened in the past. It's not necessarily going to tell you what's going to happen in the future. If you know what's going to happen in the future because some sort of fundamental news is pushing it and you understand what it is, then you can use the order flow to really efficiently place yourself. But when you don't, you know, sometimes it can be really difficult. And you get those markets like we have right now where it'll seem like no matter what you do, you can't get it to go your direction. Because especially in the 10-year, because the 10-year is so efficient.
Dan H says I think I need
Oh,
more
now it
training on
shows
the
it.
jigsaw methods. I can see when it moves, but I get caught on the wrong side many times. I guess it just takes time.
But one of the things that I think we should know, although we've seen some icebergs in certain places, you'll note that when it ticks up, it just kind of goes. And then we come over here and we look at what the 6J is doing. We're mostly moving off of the 6J. So we had the 6J came up, they pulled back, and now we'll see if they go up for another run or not. There's like literally no way for me to know if they're going to do that or not. I don't know why they moved to that level. I don't know why they moved. And without any of that information, it's a crapshoot, right? So this is where the situation where even I have something on, but I'm trying to see if I can get something to work. But obviously, there's not enough edge to really justify trading in. That's why I'm not taking any live trades. Well, that's why I don't take very many live trades during the summer at all. Because during the summer, it seems like no matter what you do, they get you somehow. But it's just a little weird. I'll show you. I mean, it's bad, right? Not a single one out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 have gone favorable. So the market is being incredibly different from what I'm used to. And I'm not sure where the read is wrong. That last one, if we had stuck with it, maybe we would be getting something now. No, still no. Still no. Well, the E-mini is kind of at the higher end of the area where it was building some volume before, and maybe they will break out and they can start to push the highs of the regular session. But it's just slow and creeping. Slow Monday is what it is, all it is. It should be interesting to go and look at the boards tonight and see if the Wall Street bets guys took hits or not. Because I don't know how this kind of action would affect the guys yellowing options and so forth. It might just be, meh, nothing happened and it didn't affect them because the moves they're looking for are bigger anyways. Bill hitting China for its poor treatment of Muslim minority on its way to Trump would compel Trump to impose sanctions and revoke the visas of officials responsible for Uyghur, I don't know how to pronounce it, oppression.
Sunday Driver says straight up. Should we have our money in this market? What will come first, Dow 20,000 or Dow 40,000?
I don't think that that's the question that I can really answer for you. I don't know. I'm really not sure. I only know that from a valuation perspective, that what you're getting for your money doesn't look very attractive. That's all I can say. But whether in the short term it's going to go up or down from here, I don't know. And that's kind of the thing, Sunday, though, on here on this Monday is like, is there anything happening today that tells a large institutional investor something that gives them a greater or lesser uh, confidence on it going one direction or the other? No, nothing's happened today. There's no reason for the market to move. It's going to chop around and screw over market makers. That's what it's going to do. Now something's happening because people are moving into the 6J, which I can't explain. Maybe Japan decided, hey, we want to buy a lot more stuff. I don't know. It looks pretty bad over in the Treasuries, but actually they've been flat now for quite some time, for almost 45 minutes. Oh, so I really don't know the numbers on the Dow, like 20,000, 40. They mean nothing to me. I don't look at it. I don't think it matters what price the Dow is. I think the only reason that they use the Dow is because it sounds more impressive on the news when they say 1,000 points. Doesn't mean shit. See, they're pushing like it looks like they want to go for a new high. Huh? A little stumble back. Yeah, it's nothing significant though. World Bank sees global economy contracting 5.2% in 2020. World Bank sees 2020 recession as worst in 80 years over virus. That's the headline coming across right now.
Michael Musial says, Seth, do you still give advice Bitcoin? I'm a new patron member. Looking forward in working together.
Yeah, well, so I still post the cryptocurrency notes every day. I'm still not entirely enthusiastic about Bitcoin, even though it is up. I think today, they've taken a little bit of a dive today, but nothing significant. I just, from a valuation perspective, they continue to look high. So at that point, you're just kind of trend trading, which is okay if you do that and you're successful with it. But for what I want to do, I've been very disappointed in it because they just don't want the hodl is strong, right? There's some people that really probably should liquidate and just refuse to do it. And they wait for the tether to come in and pump it up, which I'm really concerned at some point that tether is really will implode and it'll be bad. But I don't know if there's any real reason to think that it will do anything at the moment. I find it incredibly odd that they kind of had a pump and dump the other day, and now since then it hasn't done anything. But yeah, so I still post the Patreon notes every day. I'm not very consistent about what time of day it is that I do it, but I should be posting every day. And if I don't, you can jump on me or remind me here on stream because the schedule being all messed up and everything, sometimes it didn't really completely get into my routine, if you will. Well, they did get a downtick, but it's still kind of. It took the E-minis, really had to get to the high end of that distribution to get them to even downtick one in the Treasury. Gold is taking a hit, though. Okay. A little bit of a down push now. Another thing is in the E-mini when you see the down pushes, it's that they're doing it on. It just kind of goes tick 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 tick. It's not like anybody had to force it to happen or anything. So that again tells you like, is volume what's moving it? It doesn't seem like it to me. The orders aren't being very effective at predicting which way it's gonna go. You kind of have to do the opposite of what you normally do, and I've been trying to do that, but it's not working. It's not working at all. It's been very bad.
Sunday Driver says, Seth, do you see any improvement in Bitcoin fundamentals since the halvening?
I really don't. I really don't see anything too significant now. You got to remember that even with the halvening, that amount that gets mined every day is so small. It really doesn't affect the market that much over a short term. In order for them to really gain, I mean, so there's two things. So one thing is that they insist on being overvalued. So everybody insists on being long and not moving anything. So that's a real problem because you're not getting new participants in the market. So there's nothing to continue pushing it up. And there's a lot of suggestion that it's it's Tether, but I digress. Then you get this thing which is that even if you do want to push up, there's a limit on how high they can really go. Like literally the protocol can't handle it going over 20,000. Like it just literally can't do it. The chain freezes up and nobody can do anything. So yeah, I don't think it's really improved that much. But there's other things going on, right? Like Ethereum is seeing a good run. Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash continue to have attractive things about it. It's really hard to say that you want to buy them when who knows what Bitcoin is going to do, you know? Uptick at 14.5. This was where it was like, U.S. consumers began to feel slightly more optimistic about finances in May, says a New York Fed survey. Rand Scott comments, this is all adding to the narrative that April marked the pandemic bottom. However, that income support is stopping in July. Will that quote-unquote stimulus cliff prove to be a headwind for the risk recovery? Zero Hedge tweets, oil rally. Oh, not. It's GovTrader. It's not Zero Hedge, but oil rally running out of steam as hedge fund buying fades. Okay, somebody tried to take it down there, and then they got fought back, and there was a bunch of pushing and orders moving around, and they ticked up. Cool. Hmm. World Bank extreme poverty globally could affect up to 100 million people. Cool. Well, that doesn't even begin to hit into the hole that we dug ourselves on Sim, but there could be some continuation. Let's see.
Michael Musial says you answered my question about Bitcoin, thanks.
No problem. That's why we're here. I appreciate you guys coming in. Even though I know it's kind of a slow. The summer it always gets a little slow. Last summer we had that's when Ace Kite came in, and that was like chat really heated up because you guys were all chatting up a storm. But it's summer, It's just the trading in summer is just straight up tends to not be as good. And when you get a slow day in summer, it's really bad. Like today. Today is quintessential choppy summer trade. Okay, so there's a relatively big order there at 12.5. Eight gone into 12. See, I wish that I could see like what is a stop and whatnot, because I bet you that those 8 orders that hit into 12 were not people that wanted to sell into 12. They wanted to sell into, like 16.5. Hmm. Well, the E-mini still hasn't broken the high yet, have they? You watch though. It's probably going to do the same thing on the other side. They're going to go up. It's not going to be like stops like let's go yeehaw. Well, maybe I'll be wrong. So let's see if we get a stop run. But my prediction is that it's going to be relatively muted like it was on the downside. I mean, there was some stops on the downside, but I do think that they're going to break it though. Hmm. There's a decent amount of orders sitting there at 12. It's not a ton. I do think that they may eventually eat through it, but it's going to require the 6J coming down a bit. And I don't know if they're going to or not. The E-mini's definitely running. They want it. Should be fun. What is here in the E-mini on the cumulative delta? Oh, it came down and it back up. So nothing too interesting in cumulative delta. Mohammed Al-Arain linked to the just published World Bank report on global economic prospects. The tone and projections are more pessimistic than the latest IMF assessment. Okay. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. Actually, that one ran pretty good, but look, absorption 1,000 at 32.10. I think though that how much did we come after we broke that? Oh no. 09 a point. Yeah, I guess we're in tolerance. But what I find weird about that one is that the Treasuries kind of ticked up and started pulling 13 when that happened. Gold looks like it's going down. Oh, I didn't notice. I've been seeing this picture of congressional Democrats kneeling for Black Lives Matter, and I'm like, why are they all wearing scarves? But now I realize that it is some sort of African styled pattern. Oh, Donald Trump Jr. is retweeting something, an interview, and they said somebody asks, "What if in the middle of the night my home is broken into? Who do I call?" And they responded, "Yes, I hear that loud and clear from a lot of neighbors, and I know, and myself too, and I know that comes from a place of privilege." Like, what? That's a privilege? It's a privilege to not have your house broken into, huh? I think they need a different word. Look, this is not a privilege to not have your house broken into. Okay, it's safety and property is your right, and you can defend it with lethal means if necessary. All right, it's not a privilege. Uh, that is just so. That is just so weird. I just can't. Well, we already went into this earlier today. Some of the things that I'm seeing people on the left saying, I'm like, are you listening to yourself when you say these things? Like, how does something in your head not go and say, hey, maybe that's not the best way to say things? But I guess when you're coming into this highly, what is the word, like the language with it, it's almost religious, and you never get these people like at church. They start talking about stuff and they just start using words and it's all just a mishmash of nothing. Oh, that happens to me at church all the time. They're just they're just throw out as many buzzwords as you can. That's what they're doing. Semi-auto shotgun should do the job. Yeah, it's so weird, so crazy. Yesterday's high. Oh, so 32.10 is being like really stubborn, right? Because that's yesterday's high, and it's kind of the overnight high too. I think that they might break it, but it's going to be something where like they're going to break it and then you're going to think, all right, let's go. And then they'll turn back down again. But the sad thing is, it could escalate to burning down the house. No one. Oh, yeah. That has happened, huh? But I think that what is really going to happen is that everybody will just move. Honestly, if you had the ability to move out of Minneapolis, why would you not be doing it right now? Serious. I know I'm stepping on kind of dangerous ground here because people will say that that's, you know. But listen, I'm just trying to present a realistic scenario about how people think and what they can do. And if I lived in Minnesota, even if I lived in the suburbs or anything like that, you know what I'd be saying? This state isn't a good place to live. I'm moving. Finding a new job and I'm moving. I've done that before. Did not like what they were doing in the city that I was living in. I moved.
Says semi-auto shotgun should do the job. Luis Alarid says, but the sad thing, it could escalate to burning down the house. No win.
That's the API is popping back up again. Anyways, I didn't like, some of the things they were doing in the school district, and I didn't like what they were doing at the county level. Kept increasing taxes over and over and over again, and not really giving us anything in return for it. And I moved to a county where they were doing things in the city government the way that I wanted, and I've been very happy with it. And I can't imagine how you could possibly be sitting there and saying, okay, they defunded the police. I would really like to increase my investment in this particular city, state, or county. Like, you got to be kidding me. These people are like freaking crazy. Yeah, Minneapolis is done. The woke leftists have surrendered to the mob. That's 100%. 100% it is done. I mean, I'm not going to call them the woke leftists, but the whole thing is they have succumbed to insanity. They are implementing a policy that has absolutely no backing, like no evidence to support that it works or how to do it or anything. You know what works, guys? When you have crime in a neighborhood, you know what has been statistically shown to work? Put more police officers in the areas that have trouble. That works. We're not allowed to do that because we're told that that's racist, but that has been proven to work. Okay? And you say, put less police officers in there? What do you think is going to happen? Yeah, I would move. You would move. Anybody would, right? Eventually, there will be nowhere to move to. They leave places that suck, move to places that work, and then they implement policies that made the places they came from suck. Well, maybe. Here's the thing. If you come here in Utah, for instance, a Sunday driver, there are a lot of people that support the Black Lives Matters movement. But you'll notice if you talked to a liberal that lives here in Utah, and then you talked to a liberal that lives in Minneapolis, I think that you would find that they would tell you very different things. Because the people in Utah have to vet their ideas because literally everybody around them tells them how dumb the things that they're saying are. And a lot of them do think that defunding the police is wrong, right? So the group think isn't as strong because they have so much opposition. So it's not like this idea that like they're going to take over everything. No, you're going to see pendulum swing. You have to remember that when Reagan and Bush and all those guys were in charge, like the Republicans really had a really firm grip on what was going, on the government, I guess you could say. And then it wasn't until Barack Obama came along that they flipped it. And then when Barack Obama had his day, they weren't really able to do a whole lot because the Republicans, were able to stop most of it. So you're just seeing a pendulum, and the pendulum will come swinging back the other way and smack them flat on their face. Well, we got about 4 minutes. I don't know if this is ever going to go down to where I got. It's kind of came down and it's kind of come back up like a couple of times. But just back to that 12, they haven't been able to break 12. It's funny to hear the movie and pop stars are for defunding living in their gated community. Well, I mean, they live in California, right? When they do it, I mean, I guess they are doing it in LA, but like when they do it in, Melrose Place or whatever the name of the nice areas in LA are, they defund the police there, then we'll see. But I mean, it's just bad branding in general. Even if the idea was good, which it's not, but even if the idea was good, bad branding. Bad branding. I wonder if they're buying it up because they expect them to come off from that high now. Because the 6J isn't actually moving anymore. The euro is a little bit, gold is coming back a little bit. Difficult to sort out what's what. It's a slow market. Hope you didn't trade it or lose too much if you did. Anyways, I will see you guys. I don't know if there's much else to say. It's the new normal? No, probably not. Probably not. They'll get over it. Don't worry about it. This is the greatest fallacy that we as humans are prone to, and that is that what is happening now will continue to happen. That's what we always think. That's why the market has a tendency to trend. Well, we always think it's going to keep going, myself included. And I always have to take a step back and say, no, actually, that's kind of dumb. And the chances are that a lot of people will realize that it's dumb and they'll stop doing it. The thing that you will see first is they will try and rebrand it. They will come up with a different phrase than defund the police. That's more positive. I guarantee it, because it's that bad. Anyways, I'm going to leave this and see if it ever gets back down there. But just all this, just ignore it. It's a wash. Don't trade this. Don't do as I do. Next time, I should just not take any of them. Next time, I'll just sit on my hands. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow. Stay profitable, friends.